Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. This one is player rankings where myself and George from Ingenuity Fantasy. If you don't know about Ingenuity Fantasy, check the link in the description, ingenuityfantasy.com. They've got all sorts of cool features. It's a free website, no kind of paying subscriptions or anything like that. They've got a nice transfer wizard, which will help you with your transfers. They've got weekly articles by various people within the FPL space. They've got some Optimatch stats. They've got all sorts going on. And then they've got these hot picks player rankings, which are picked by myself and George. We will look at cheap defenders, cheap mids, premium mids, cheap forwards, premium forwards, and we will rank them for the next 5 game weeks. So if you like the video, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, and let's get into it.
Hi guys, welcome back to me and Brad's weekly ranking series. Quite a bit to talk about from last week, so we're going to dive straight in. So we're kicking off with our cheap defenders that you'll be able to see on the screen next to you now. Quite a few talking points on the cheap defenders this week. I think let's probably kick off with Luca Dean. I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, he proved why he's a troll for FPL players. Massively proved it. I mean, I've actually still got him relatively high on my list. I've got him at 4 just because I still don't think we see loads of rotation, although the rotation came way earlier than I thought it was going to. But yeah, hard to trust him now.
Yeah, I think for me as well, it's also, I mean, I've got him at 10, which is quite harsh, but I think a lot of that is PTSD from just owning him in the past, and you know, he will do that to you. It's like Daniel Calvert-Lewin, for example. That guy's never seeing a single list I'm doing ever again, and it's just from the FPL trauma element. So yeah, Luca Dean at the moment, a bit of a volatile asset. Moving on, I've got Hall at 4. You've got him at 7. So we should also point out Newcastle haven't played yet. So me and Brad are recording this before the Newcastle West Ham game. But yeah, why's Hall slipped for you? You had him at 3 last week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he hasn't done anything yet, so it's not because of that. It's more just the fixtures. Like that West Ham fixture was one of the best ones in that 5 game block. So it's just a case that those fixtures have moved. Like that was one of the best fixtures. So yeah, still a great option. Don't get me wrong, and he's obviously ridiculously cheap. So I mean, fantastic option, but yeah, there are some better options that are just slightly more expensive.
Yeah, no, I completely hear that. And then Udogie. So you've got Udogie at 8. I haven't got Udogie on my list at all. I think, you know, obviously Spurs looked insane against City, but Spurs always look insane against City. And we need to remember how mortal they look against other teams. I'm just a bit worried about Udogie's fixtures. Great player, by the way, one of the best left-backs in the league. But I'm just a bit worried about Chelsea, Liverpool, Fulham and Bournemouth, who have all been, you know, pretty good going forward. So
the fixtures are kind of a mixed bag, really. They haven't got like a really bad run or a really good run. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but I just think that even if there isn't kind of a big clean sheet chance in any of these games, I think that the way that Spurs set up and the way he sets up, there's going to be a chance for an attacking return anyway. So admittedly, I probably wouldn't actually go for him just because, I mean, I've got him at 8. There's better options, but I do think that Spurs defenders or players in general will just tick along over these like mixed fixtures.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, it's quite hard to dispute that. Sorry, a bit of background noise. Basically, and then the final other point I wanted to discuss is, so I've got Semedo in. I just think purely Wolves at the moment look red hot. Granted, maybe not, you know, the best defensively, but Semedo does offer a bit going forward as well. You know, he has got 2 assists this season. And I just think, you know, the teams that Wolves are playing are so bad that we could definitely see 1 or 2 clean sheets thrown in there as well. So I just think Semedo's pretty good value in that sense.
Those next 5 fixtures are ideal, which is obviously why I've got Aït-Nouri first. Aït-Nouri's just brilliant. Those fixtures are so good. So yeah, I don't mind the Semedo pick at all.
Yeah. Sweet. So, I mean, you know, pretty aligned on premium defenders now. So if we move over, there's, I mean, the 1 point of difference again. I mean, we both brought Porro in, both quite reactive on the Spurs sense. You've got Estepinian a bit higher than me. I just think, at the 5 million price point, we know what Estepinian can do, and Brighton's fixtures are pretty much as good as it gets. But I kind of just need to see it this season at least before I can fully buy into it at that price.
Yeah, it's fair. And obviously, with most Brighton players, he's not completely nailed, of course, but
Yeah.
you'd expect him to play reasonable minutes, to be honest. And just a fixtures player. I think their fixtures are brilliant.
Yeah. Completely agree. And so Cucurella, I think, robbed of a clean sheet. Chelsea were very unlucky there, but he does stay for me because Reece James has the hamstring of a a lamb shank. So I think also Cucurella offered a bit going forward. We saw he had an expected assist of 0.26. He was getting forward, he was providing that width for them. So I just think he's not bad value there, especially given Chelsea's run of fixtures.
I'd say Cucurella's gone up in my. I haven't got him in my rankings, but he's gone up in my kind of thinking from last week to this week. To be fair, I do think he's not a bad option, especially given like you say, Reece James. Just can't be trusted for.
Speaking of FPL
weeks.
trolls, yeah,
exactly. So I don't mind him. But yeah, I mean, as you can see from the list, it's kind of Arsenal defenders are where you want to be, and
exactly.
throw in the odd like Trent, the odd Porro, but mainly Arsenal defenders if you're going premium.
Yeah, for sure. Completely agree. All right. Well, if you guys want to let us know what you think about me and Brad's list, let us know if we missed anyone, and we will check in on you later on in the video and next week to see how right we were.
Yeah.
Right. Cheap midfielders now. So I have got a bit of eating of my words now, and an apology to issue to Brad for the Matoma disrespect.
Yeah.
To be fair, Brighton, the pie does actually look big enough, and Matoma did look very good. So I will give that to you.
Yeah, he was brilliant, and he is brilliant. To be fair, like I say, Brighton's fixtures are ideal, and whoever plays in that front four or whatever it is going to be, then they're all going to get involved. Like, I mean, this weekend, it was only Welbeck that didn't get involved, I think. So there's plenty to go around.
And as you said before, their fixtures are just an absolute dream. I've still got Madueke at 1 just because, I think Chelsea's attack is very strong, but I just like how direct he is. Every time Madueke gets the ball, he seems to immediately want to take on someone, immediately want to get in the box. And he has been unlucky, not to record a return in his last few games because he has averaged over 0.5 XGI, in his last 3 games. So he has just been unlucky in that sense. And Chelsea's fixtures are also brilliant. So that is why I've got him there. Semenyo. So the reason we both have Semenyo so low is because he is suspended. But it is a testament to how good he is that he is still number 6 on both of our lists. Because the guy's brilliant. Bournemouth are playing great football. So those other 4 games do look that good for him that he still makes an appearance on the list.
Especially the immediate 3 after the ban, they look fantastic.
They look really juicy.
He's still having. He's had the second most shots in the league this season behind Haaland. He's greedy, which is perfect. Brilliant.
Yeah. Exactly, and Bournemouth are absolutely cooking at the moment. And then so just a few other talking points. I've got Brennan Johnson quite low in my list. Now the reason I've got Brennan Johnson there is because when he does come on, he does just seem to grab a goal, and they do seem to look good. But there are just quite a lot of minute risks in that Tottenham team at the moment, and it's really hard to pin down anyone not called Son or Solanke.
Especially as, to be honest, Kulusevski, who has also gone up a few in our lists, he looked good on the right. He's been very good centrally this season, but against City he did look good on the right. So I think there will be times when he does play that role. So minutes risk for Johnson.
And you've still got Gibbs White. You're still plugging away with Gibbs White.
I like him. He's just got everything. He's probably a penalty taker. Maybe not even probably. Potentially the penalty taker. Yeah. Great for minutes. He just plays for one of the better teams at the moment. So granted they haven't really got the fixtures, but he's good.
Yeah, I think that's all it is to me. The fixtures to them aren't great, and they have come back down to earth. I know it's Arsenal and Newcastle their last 2 games, and I know those are tricky fixtures. but I am just a bit concerned that we now see Nottingham Forest slide back in to that, because it wasn't just Arsenal and Newcastle; it was 6 goals they shipped. So that's gonna hit your morale pretty hard. Yeah, but I do get you. He does have that talismanic value for them. I just think at the moment so does Wood. So
Yeah.
given they don't score a lot of goals, if you have one talisman, there's not a huge amount of, unlike Brighton, there's not a huge amount of pie to share around. And then premium mids. I mean, there's not a huge amount to say really about premium mids, but we can have our Son debate again.
Yeah. I mean, there's almost no change in my list, to be honest.
I mean, almost no change in my list either. I mean, I've swapped Gordon and Odegaard, but that's kind of arbitrarily. I'm just a Newcastle fan, So I just like Gordon, to be fair. Actually, one thing I will say though. So I mean, Son. We'll just touch on Son quickly. I just if Tottenham are scoring 4 week in, week out, they score the most goals in the league, I'm pretty sure. And Son only has 1 goal in his last 10. I think that just is slightly concerning.
Yeah, I do agree, and it's kind of a similar thing to what we were talking about with Brighton, where it will be shared in that team.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even seeing their number 9 Solanke getting the bulk of goals or anything like that. So I still think that them and Liverpool are the best attack in the league. They're the 2 best attacks in the league. So if they are scoring goals, which they will, then I think he's great. And for me, the reason he's that high is probably because he's the penalty taker. I don't believe in any of this Solanke taking the next penalty.
Yeah,
I think it'll be Son.
Me neither.
Not. I don't think Spurs have had a penalty in about a year, but even so, I just think Son will be worth that value for sure.
Yeah, I just think at the moment though, it's hard to justify him over other premium mids like Palmer, Saka, Fernandes, and Salah's. So until he starts getting a bigger piece of that pie, I just think I'd generally avoid him. But then also at the same, I have brought in Maddison. I know he's had a stinky couple of weeks before this, where he was dropped and getting barely any minutes. But they brought him back in this week, and he did look electric in the first half. He did look like a lot of it was going through him, and so I just think he's almost stamped his mark there. He'll be hard to drop basically after a performance like that.
He will, but I don't see how they fit in Johnson, Maddison, and Kulusevski. They can only play 2 of those 3, I think.
Yeah, I agree. But I think that what they will ride the hot hand. I think Tottenham. So whoever's playing in form at the moment, they'll be the one that they go with. And last game it did seem like that was Brennan Johnson that took that initial step back. I think if you do 2 goals and then if you score 2 goals against City and then don't start the next game, I think that's a bit shocking. So I think
fair.
for now it's probably Maddison's to lose. But again, I probably wouldn't touch him.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's it for the midfielders. If you want to let me and Brad know again who we've missed, whose list is better, and then we will revisit it next week. Right, welcome back. So now we are going to be discussing cheap forwards. The first thing we will mention, you can see him right atop of me and Brad's list, is Mr. João Pedro. Absolutely incredible value. Looks talismanic for Brighton, and Brighton's attack looks incredible. Not much more to say in that front, but
both him, both Cunha, top 2 for me. They were top 2 last week, top 2 this week. It's simple. Yep. They're both unbelievable.
Yeah, if you can get either of them in, go ahead and do it. The one talking point we will have, so Wissa, I am more than prepared to die on the Wissa hill. He was unlucky not to bag last week, 0.82 xG, and this season he is averaging around 0.75 xG per 90, which is just crazy numbers. There is a little bit of concern about the fixtures, especially compared to the other guys, but I just I'm just a bit of a Wissa truther. I don't know where you land on him, but
for me it's fixtures, and it's mainly fixtures, to be honest. From this week's fixture's brilliant. From 14 onwards, it's ropey. But the main problem is that 4 or 5 of this top 6 or 7 are taking penalties when they're on the pitch, and Wissa isn't. So granted, we haven't seen loads of penalties this season, but it's part of my criteria, let's say.
Yeah. And I completely hear that, and that is why he's. I mean, it would be silly to leave him above Cunha in my rankings, but that is why he's taken a small hit. So there is definitely a bit of concern there for me, but because of how good this next fixture is, and because of how many chances he does gobble up for Brentford, and Brentford are second or third highest scoring team in the league, I think he is a hold for me now. And then, there's just a little bit concern from both of us on Raul and Wood. Raul's just looked a bit out of sorts recently. He's been missing some of the chances which earlier in the season he might have slotted away. And Wood has seemed to be a bit of a rotation risk. You still have him quite high, though.
Yeah, I've swapped them around this week, but they're both a bit of a problem minutes wise. I mean, we've seen that Wood is susceptible to rotation. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Muniz gets a start over Raul at some point. I think that neither of them are going to start every single game. So and their fixtures are just a bit of a mixed bag. So that's why I just prefer like Brighton, Wolves, Bournemouth, their fixtures really.
Yeah, completely agree. And then premium forwards. So premium forwards, there's not a huge amount of variation in general about premium forwards just because there's not that many of them. But I think one area that we can discuss a bit. So Jackson. Now I've got Jackson quite high. I know he is, one yellow off a suspension, but I just think that Chelsea attack and those Chelsea fixtures just are too good to pass up. And so that is why I've got him quite high.
That's fair. I mean, he's actually dropped one in my rankings, but that's nothing to do with him. That's more just that Solanke has gone way up for me. I do like I've got Jackson in my own team. I think the Chelsea attack is ridiculously good. Him and Palmer in particular, both of them are incredible. But for me, it's just because Solanke's gone up to third from sixth. Because that City fixture, in reality, it wasn't bad, but on paper beforehand, it was. And that fixture's now gone, so the Spurs fixtures look a little bit better. That's the reason he's up there.
Yeah, I completely hear that. And I think the only issue with Solanke for me is what we mentioned before, is his returns seem to be very, very sporadic and almost not even fixture oriented. Like yesterday, I mean, he did get on Saturday, he did get an assist, but I think the main issue is that he registered an XG of 0.1 and XA of 0.05, and they scored 4 goals, which as the number 9 is quite confusing. But then, as we mentioned before, he does tend to just bag a brace every now and then off his numbers quite low XG as well. So
his numbers are either really good or really bad. It seems. Yeah, there's kind of no in between with him, which is weird. But if you kind of just hold him and play him throughout, then you'll pick up these hauls.
Yeah, for sure. And Tottenham's attack is just electric. They've one of the best attacks in the league. So again, it's a sort of any piece of that pie is good. But I think the only place where their assets are slightly different is Brighton. Who's playing every game. How they're going to set up. It's going to be Welbeck, João Pedro, Matoma. With Tottenham, is it going to be Kulusevski? Is it going to be Brennan Johnson? Is it going to be a Son day? Is it going to be a Solanke day? So even though they are scoring a lot, it's a lot harder to predict.
Yeah.
But so I mean, So I mean, I think that's it for us this week. On forwards. So like I said, if there's anyone you think me and Brad have missed, or any ratings that you would disagree with, please do let us know.
Yeah. Right, that wraps up this week's episode of Player Rankings. Let us know what you think about our rankings in the comments. If you haven't already, do check out ingenuityfantasy.com. Have a look at the link in the description. All sorts of cool tools, as I mentioned in the intro. But that's all for this one anyway. I'll see you in the next one.